So thank you, everyone, for coming to attend the AI-powered job search workshop, Mastering Your Next Career Move with Confidence. I already talked about that. Okay. So if we are not able to address your question, you can always reach out to us on LinkedIn. We'll have a QR code at the end of the presentation where you could scan the QR code and ask us directly on LinkedIn for a question, especially if you don't feel like we answered it correctly. All right. So I'm going to talk about the agenda. This is the agenda. We're going to be covering these items in the next 90 minutes. Again, there will be a break about the halfway mark. When you see the slide that says 7th inning stretch, you'll know that it's an opportunity for you to stand up. If you've had enough conversation about generative AI, feel free to take a seat in the dining room, because this workshop does go till 5:40, but seating begins at 5:30. All right. So we're going to leverage this decor we have here. So what is your final destination? So I've prepared a career flight plan to help you on your AI-powered journey to landing a job. Imagine your job as a flight, and your goal is to land the right role. Today we will show you how, using generative AI, for example, ChatGPT, can help you pilot that journey from takeoff to touchdown. I can do it here. Every journey begins on the runway. This is where you define your target roles, prepare your resume, and optimize your LinkedIn. Generative AI helps by analyzing job descriptions, drafting resume bullets, and optimizing your online profile, saving hours. Takeoff is about momentum, applying to jobs, messaging contacts at target companies or with target positions to schedule an informational interview. AI becomes your co-pilot, writing personalized cover letters, helping you track jobs, and tailoring outreach emails to recruiters to contacts at target companies. You get lift faster and with direction. Oops. I can't even see that. Climb. As you climb, you start getting interviews. You use AI to simulate mock interviews, generate compelling star stories, and even role play tough questions. It helps you rehearse and refine so you rise with confidence. Now you're cruising, evaluating offers and negotiating. AI can benchmark draft counteroffers and help you phrase things professionally. You stay calm, clear, and in control. As you begin your descent, it's time to prepare for landing. This phase is all about getting ready for your new role. About getting ready for success in your new role. Understanding team dynamics, setting early goals, and getting organized. Gen AI can help you plan your initial 30-day strategy, research internal tools, and even simulate onboarding. Checklist. The smoother the descent, the better the landing. Finally, you land, but the journey continues. AI can help with continuing development of your 60 and 90-day plans and ongoing career development. You're not just landing a job, you're building a career. And this may not be your last role you land in your career. So ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts. Everyone's journey is different. We are here to guide you on your journey, emphasizing use of AI as a tool, your co-pilot in the job search process. Your job search doesn't have to feel chaotic. With AI as your co-pilot and you as the pilot, every phase becomes more focused, faster, and smarter. Ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelts. We're ready for takeoff on your career journey. So now I'll introduce Carlos, right? You're next up, and he will be presenting on generative AI, the basics.
Perfect, thank you. Pass the mic.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. We have a quick activity. It's 5 seconds to guess our names. 4, 3, 2. You did it? Okay. I'm Carlos, Reina Lingle, our partner, and Kevin Metzger. And we are responsible for, it's a joy for us to be here and deliver this content to you. We are all very, very much into AI. And, the idea is to try to be contagious about it. Okay? Okay, so why are we in this AI hype? That's the reason. Data, 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 and more data, right? And for those of you that are still waiting for this to be a hype that will go, please leave that thought aside. This is going to stay. The growth of data that you see in the slide is not because population is going to grow at that same ratio, or computers, or anything like that. It's because the content that AI is generated is going to be ever more stored and saved. So there's going to be an explosion of information and data. And the way we understand, business processes today is going to change dramatically over the next couple of months. The processes you're used to are already changing, especially you job seekers, us job seekers. And one thing I didn't do when I introduced myself, the three of us are job seekers as well. And this is probably the most important message here is this is here to stay, and AI is the way to handle all the data that is coming our way, okay? But what is Gen AI specifically? It's not that fair thing where you put the coin, remember, and it tells you the fortune. It's content generation tools. It's like the highest level definition I can find without becoming technical. I'm very geeky and nerdy, and I like to talk technicalities about these things. It's machine learning. That's probably the most advanced term you will hear today. And these tools generate content, right? At the core, here you have some logos that you might recognize. ChatGPT is the first one. The one in the middle is Claude, and the one to the right is Gemini. And at the core, the models that these products have are called LLMs, for large language models, right? We didn't need to know a lot more about it. The key thing to interact with a large language model is prompting or instruction delivering, okay? You will find a lot of frameworks, a ton of frameworks to structure a good prompt. All of them more or less fall under these three structure categories, or three categories, sorry. In all of them, you give a context or a role, you give an objective, and you can also give an output to be more effective. We're going to see a couple of examples. The most important thing is prompting is the way you interact with these models. So the richness of the prompt determines the richness of the response. Okay? Soft prompts, soft generic responses, rich, elaborate, iterative prompts generate much better responses. And the things that you can do are simply crazy. Don't fall for the write me a cover letter for this job, copying and pasting. That's not going to have your flavor, okay? But you can iterate a couple of times with the tool, with the product, whatever it is, ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, and you will see, as you play with it, how it evolves. I have here two very quick examples. First one, real case, my sister. This is not generic. This is my sister, is an anthropologist, PhD, post-PhD. I mean, she has all the titles possible. And she was invited to a woman leadership program that would end in environmental sciences. She is very, very much involved into environmental sciences. And the program would finish with a trip to Antarctica, right? And when she said, oh, cool, but then they told her, yeah, you're invited, but you need to pay for everything. She was like, okay, what? And then she realized by talking to a woman who had been to the same program that all of them found a sponsor, right? So what we did is we crafted this prompt, giving a little bit of the context, yeah? Then saying asking the tool to perform a detailed research on which organizations might be able to sponsor this trip. And finally, we wanted the output on a tabular form. Did we get to this prompt at once? No. We iterated a couple of times, and we tried different things until we started getting the results that we wanted. Okay? But this is sort of an example that I applied it myself, and the results were amazing, and it really shortened the research time to get to organizations that could eventually sponsor my sister's trip and participation in this course, in this program. The other one is something like what we're going to see in a moment. You're an expert career coach that has advised many executives in their career transition, LinkedIn, resume elevator pitches, and more. Important thing here, we tend to speak in a very elaborate way, right? Because we own the language. We use all the grammar and all the beauty of the language. The simplest your statements, the better. You can notice how I didn't write, you are an expert on LinkedIn, resume, elevator pitch. No, I just put LinkedIn, resume, elevator. And the model will consume all this and know even in a more accurate way what it needs to do, okay? Then the objective, I will give you my resume, my CV, and you will analyze it section by section, identifying possible opportunities for improvement. We're going to see an example. And then the output. Present your output using bullets. One main bullet for each resume section and secondary bullets for it, the current version of it and the improved version of it. So again, these are just examples. There are tons of gurus offering free and even paid collections of prompts. Please don't pay for those. Don't pay for those. The best prompt, which is the best prompt? Your prompt. And the important thing is this. We cannot let ourselves become, copy pasters and dumb and by following everybody else's prompts and following the collection of prompts. Those prompts are great. And those prompts probably what they have is that they were thought by someone, they were developed by someone, and we can use them, we can consume them for sure. But if you're always aware of this framework when you're consuming them, you're probably going to be able to make those prompts better. And in the end, make them yours. That's the important thing. Okay, so I cannot emphasize more how critical thinking is important in this process, right? Because a lot of the boring stuff that we are doing, we are shortcutting, and making it, achieving much faster results with these tools, which makes us step aside and be more conceptual, creative creative thinkers, intuitive people. Being human, right? And let the machine do what the machine does best. Okay, I hand it over to Kevin.
So, okay. Guess I have to get one of the two mics on to get started.
On if you want to talk a little bit closer to them, or
Sure.
Or if you want to speak from that distance, if you want to start talking, I'll try to adjust it.
Yeah. Okay, so
That's good.
you can hear? All right, good. I'm going to talk a little bit about the do's and don'ts right now. And I think really what Carlos just said is probably the biggest do, and that is use critical thinking while you're in the process. So you're going to be able to go in and tell your resume and build cover letters, and we're going to do some examples of how to do some of that stuff, and later on we cover a couple more details around it, and there's some GPTs that you can use to do this easily, where you can just upload your job description and your resume and get help tailoring it. But when you get results out of these tools, if you are not taking the time to read the results and verify that they are right, then you will have a lack of authentic voice. You will be over relying on the tool. You will basically get misalignment with who you are and what the job is, and when you try and go and interview, it'll become obvious. So those are the things that are really important. And then, ethical and privacy, one of the things that we've talked about in the past, and something that actually has changed very recently. So OpenAI, you can go in and change your data settings so that they won't share or save your content. However, as of a week and a half ago, they're in a lawsuit with the New York Times, and a judge has issued an injunction. So OpenAI currently has to save all chats, the results of all chats. So be aware of that. That'll probably get overruled. But that is that's some newer information, something you should be aware of. So if you are concerned about the fact that they might save something that you've asked them not to, they have to right now, it's legally, but I think that'll probably change, but just be aware of that. So other things you want to do, right? You want to do a job, take the job description and ask for an analysis of the job description. Ask how you match to it. Give it your resume and say, this is my background, or ask it to look at your LinkedIn profile and upload your LinkedIn profile if you've got all of your job experience there. How do I match to this job? You can get better understanding of the way you can position yourself for the role and whether you're a good fit. You can, there's a GPT that we have listed later that you'll see that you can practice mock interviews. So if you give it the resume, you give it a little bit more description about the job and the level of the job, that GPT actually has a list of hundreds of interview questions that it can reference, as well as looking at the job and the position, and it will ask intelligent questions and give you feedback on how you're answering. And when you're answering, you can also, Carlos, maybe you can show this, but how you can hit the mic to talk your answer into. Sure. So for a demo, and then use it on your LinkedIn. Use it to build your brand. As you're trying to position yourself for your next role, LinkedIn has become a platform for branding who you are and what you are. And so leverage the LinkedIn platform to help talk about how you're qualified for the roles you're looking for and showing that. And then finally, networking and outreach. You have the opportunity to use this to leverage how you communicate, tailor your communications, and even customize your emails that you're sending out. You can use voice. You can use a description of how you want to sound. And when you go and type an email up, and your editing process can basically be enhanced much more incredibly well. I'm not much of a sales pitch writer, but I've defined a sales pitch voice so that if I want to rewrite something I've written to sound more salesy, and not salesy in the bad way, but salesy in the way like, hey, I need to deliver this with a pitch and I need to explain why it's the benefits to my customer and all of that, it can help me do that much more effectively. So you can really define how you want your outputs to work, or to read and sound. And Claude is a very good tool for doing that. I think that covers the do's and don'ts. I think, Reina, you're back up.
Yep. Yes, I am. And I'll be quick because we're a little bit behind.
Okay. Sorry.
So this is a word cloud on the job search. As you all know, the job search can be chaotic with all the things that you have to do to get in line, what I call your hiring presentation. In this word cloud, we also have some notebook LM and other things, but the thing I want to share, because we're running short on time, is this word cloud. So feel free to scan this QR code. It's a live poll on how job seekers currently are using generative AI in their job search. So the larger font and colored text are popular, and then as they get smaller, they're less popular. We have 35 people who submitted to this poll, and it ends tomorrow. But the black words are just one input. So if you contribute to this poll, you can use not just words but phrases. So if you're doing job search analysis, please type job search analysis. But I think this is valuable because you're getting to see how other job seekers are using generative AI.
And by far, ChatGPT is the tool that is used the most, right?
Based on this and what people have inputted.
let's jump into the first two examples. We're gonna present use cases. Okay, I'm gonna be presenting what we call the basic ones. Then Kevin is gonna share with us a great use case of his own, and then Reina is gonna share another great tool with us. If there are questions, please feel free. I mean, we have a section for Q&A by the end of this section. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to move on to this example. So all of you know how to get into ChatGPT. Usually what I do is I start a new chat, and as we mentioned, the important thing here is to give proper context, right? So in this case, I'm setting up the context. This is my first prompt. As you see, I have a brand new chat. You're a career coach with 50 years, it could be 500 years. It's a machine. Of experience advising executives in career transition. You will help me improve my CV and adapt it to a specific job description. Guide me through the process of requesting the documents that you need for this experience. Output should be in tabular format with sections of the CV in the rows and the columns following this pattern. Section title, current version, improved version, and I think there is something else here. Rationale, for the change. Please confirm with this context with OK. I'm going to put it to work, and I'm going to emphasize this last sentence. I call LLMs and GPTs and all these models racing horses, right? And what do racing horses do when you release the rein? They race. These are the famous hallucinations. If you don't give a very, not very well, but a well-crafted prompt, but review my resume, improve my resume, I mean, that kind of soft prompt or very, very easy prompt, then you will get a responsibility, right? So I usually, when I set context, and as you can see, it's thinking here, right? It's sort of thinking. This is a cool thing of the latest version. It's sort of analyzing internally how to react to my prompt. If you go and give a last instruction like confirm you understand, please confirm this context with an OK or something like that, it will force it, you will force it to sort of iterate on the example. Is this good enough or too small? Let's see if this works. I hope this works. And let's hide this. We don't need this. OK. So what happened here? It gave me, it thought for 39 seconds. That's new. I mean, I discovered that yesterday. It's giving me the general framework it's going to use, right? And the framework is going to be the section. So it wants, it would like to have, based on the training that it has, a job description, a professional summary, key skills and core competencies, and these are the sections that it will this chat will expect to see on my CV, right? So I think I'm good with this. I'm going to go, so next steps, copy the job description into the first row, current version, and paste the content of each section of your CV. I'm going to do something better, and I'm going to say, I'm going to provide you first my CV, and you will extract the information from it. Then I'm going to give you the job description. So that's, as Kevin says, this is another goodie. You can dictate to it, and it will understand almost 99.9% of what you say. So remember, this is a machine. This is a content generated machine. It's not a human. It's not so, but I'm guiding it. I'm playing with it, right? So, yeah, please, perfect. Upload your resume. So I have my resume here somewhere. Oh, Lordy. I was expecting something like this.
Your public one.
It never fails. It never fails. Okay, so just because of this, I had this example already here, CV optimization guide. We're going to follow the pre-built example, which is exactly the same thing. So here, we were at this point where I said, I'm going to give you my CV. Here, so perfect. Please go ahead and upload your most recent CV in PDF or doc or Word format. Once I receive it, I will do, extract the content section by section, map it, et cetera, et cetera. So I uploaded my CV. This is my most recent CV. That's my text. And to upload this document, I went here to this arrow and connected with Google Drive. But for some reason, in the live presentation, Murphy's Law, it didn't work. So thank you. I've reviewed your CV, and you will now and will now organize it into the requested table format. So here's the same table it proposed initially, but now it's taken the information from my CV, and it's, remember I said I want the output in tabular format, right? So I have the section title, I have the current content of my CV, and the next question that you see here is the suggested content, right? And there is still a column here, which is the logic or the rationale for the change. So it is reading my resume, and this is more or less, I mean, you always need to, this is my CV, you always need to come and confirm these things, and see if the information is getting is accurate and whatnot. But I mean, I think I know my CV, so these sections, whatever I'm getting here is, yes, it's what I have, and whatever it's proposing me, it's what I can take and bring back into my CV, right? So the exercise is very, very quick, and that's the most important thing. Things that used to take us a lot of time to research, to gather, to write, to compose, this is happening very, very fast. So it's saving me a lot of time, but I cannot take everything for granted. I need to review, I need to make sure that this content is the one that I like. I could even take this content, for example, and paste it back into the chatbot and say, hey, I don't like this, but please rephrase this section, right? Again, this is my process. I control the process. There is nothing written, and this example probably, if you try to replicate it yourself, is going to look different, right? The important thing here is we're showing how to interact with the tool and how to. So, next steps. It took my resume, extracted the information, put it in the format that you proposed. So the next step is please upload a specific or paste a specific job description you're targeting. So I had here this job description I found on LinkedIn. This is for a fractional CFO role. I look at those all the time. That's my profile. And here is a I just copied and pasted the job description that I found here on LinkedIn, right? I went here. I went to the about the job section. I copied this and pasted into ChatGPT. The context, it was not longer than what I can usually put as an input, so no problem, provide as an input. So here you see the whole job description. And what it did, it thought again, it did a lot of reasoning because remember, in the first pass, it took my CV and it made some generic recommendations. I could have said, do not make any recommendations before I give you the job description. So here's an example of the racing horse. I didn't hold the rein back and it started generating. It gave me my section and the improved section, but out of the void, out of the blue. There was no reference as a job description. So now that I'm giving a job description, it took 32 seconds to rebuild the whole thing. And so now we have, again, the current version of my CV and the improved version of my CV tailored to that job description. How much time would it take you to do this, right? It used to take me a lot of time. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. From this point on, I can take this and paste it back into ChatGPT if I want to change the wording or whatever to make it, to give it my flavor, as Kevin said. Okay, so that was the first demo I wanted to bring to you. The second demo is a tool I honestly love. It's called Notebook LM. It's part of the Google Suite tools, the general Google account tools. You will find it there. You just Google for Notebook LM, and if you're connected to your Google account, it will simply open it with your Google user. And as the word suggests, this tool allows you to create notebooks. What is a notebook? A notebook has a section for sources. It has a section to interact with these sources. And then it has another section for very cool tools. This is generically known as a RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation tool, okay? Which is you using the power to generate content of the LLM, of the model, based on specific knowledge that you're giving to it. it used to be that every new notebook, you needed to add manually the context, which is also known as a knowledge base. But now when you hit here, add, you can go here. And for example, there was this company we're looking at with Reina. And it's called Ministry Brands. So if you notice, I went here to add a source, discover sources, and I told it, please find everything there is to know about Ministry Brands. I submit it, and it starts looking for sources about Ministry Brands. I'm not going to let this here running because it will take a lot. Well, here are 10 interesting sources, but it could have been Coca-Cola, Salesforce, Ryder, whatever company you want. It could have been anything else. So it converts that discovery process, makes it a source, and imports it. And let me show you the finished product. I have it here. This is the same example again. I wanted to do. So the first thing that happened, once it loaded the sources, it gave me a summary of all the documents that I have here in my knowledge base, right? But then I can do very cool stuff. For example, the mind map is like a graphic, conceptual description of all the knowledge base, right? And it's going to take a while. Here it is. Here it is. Yep. So this is a mind map. I mean, we're used to mind maps, right? So we have here different topics. These topics were created by the AI. It didn't do anything. And if I go into each one of these, the ones that are endpoints are going to become prompts, right? So I can extract information from the knowledge base. And I can do it in a very, very structured way, right? Like I have my mind map. Here I have another, maybe Ministry Brands is another. Here are the topics, the most important topics. And I know the gray ones can expand, and the green ones are endpoints, I believe. No, here I have more endpoints. So this is a very cool feature. But this is the one that is really impressive. The audio overview. This creates...
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plugging into a really fascinating intersection. Faith and technology.
Yeah, it's a space that's really growing.
Definitely. We all know businesses guided by faith, like Chick-fil-A.
We're not going to use it all.
Established names. Mm-hmm. But now we're seeing this similar kind of energy in the tech world.
That podcast is AI generated. It's in the form of a conversation of two hosts in a show, and it gives you a summary of your entire knowledge base. Now, you can generate and ask questions on the entire set of documents, or you can ask questions on a subset of the documents as well. So if you want your audio overview on one single document, you select that and you run the audio overview, and so on. And other things that you will find here. I mean, we didn't become experts because we started this thing. We're not even experts. We just play with this a lot. And that's the recommendation. Research, play, go into it, find what it does. Here's another cool one is the study guide. If you really want to study, I don't think I have developed this one. No problem. Anyhow, this is my part of the demo. Yeah. And now we're going to have come here.
Question.
Go ahead.
The first example you gave, you had a series of prompts to do that.
Yep.
Is there a way we can get a copy of those prompts just to replicate your experience?
I can give it.
And along the lines of wanting to be able to use pre-custom GPTs. So basically, I had created a bunch of tools. This presentation used to go through the use of the tools. Modified it a little bit this time because I want to give you a little perspective of what's happening especially with AI companies that are starting to use AI in the interview process a little bit. And so I'm going to talk about that in a minute here. But we still wanted to share the tools because they're available. At the end of my part of this presentation, I put a post out on LinkedIn today that has these as well. So you take a picture now, you can go use them if you want. I'll probably put up a demo of how they work here in the next week or two as well. But realistically, these are very easy tools to use. They guide you through the process. The prompts are stored. A GPT basically is a stored prompt. So everything Carlos kind of walked through about how to write a prompt, you can then save those in a GPT if you have a subscription version. But you don't need the subscription version to use it. So I have the subscription version, I built them, I saved them, and now they're available to use for the general public. And they are basically prompted to walk you through the process of writing a cover letter, working on your star stories, doing an interview. The job coach one is actually a combination of things, and it's really based off of the methodology that Google defined for how you approach a job search when you're applying to Google, what they expect you to go through. The job seeker marketing plan is great for kind of putting together a marketing plan for yourself, positioning and looking at it helps do the research on the companies that you want to target and building out that whole marketing plan and the way that looks like. And then the job coach is actually the original one that I wrote, which is when I was interviewing for Google, I wrote it to help me prepare for the interview for Google. So any questions on that quickly before, and we are doing questions at the end, but I figured I'd hit that quickly. All right, so algorithms are going to become the new gatekeeper. It's coming. Like I said, I'm applying to a lot of AI companies. I'm interested in the field, wanted to work with them. Some of them are approaching the job search differently. And so just to talk about what's happening in HR in general, but then specifically kind of at the leading edge, 99% of hiring managers use AI somewhere in their funnel, according to Insight Global. 76% of companies say AI will ask interview questions by 2025. That's this year. That's according to the Resume Builder notes. And actually, some of the other things in that article, which, by the way, you would assume Resume Builder would be a great resource and valid resource, but some of these things don't actually. 76% of companies say AI will ask interview questions, but then later in this, it says like only 0.2% of companies report not using AI in their hiring process. So not sure those align 100%, but 82% of companies use AI to review resumes, while 40% employ AI chatbots to communicate with candidates, and about 23% use AI to conduct interviews. So AI is in the process, and part of the reason we're doing this and part of the reason I wanted to have this part of the conversation is to kind of make you aware if AI is in the process on the company side, then I know some people are a little bit nervous about taking advantage of AI or how to use AI as part of their job search, but if they're using it on that side, why wouldn't you be using it on this side? While you're trying to apply, trying to take advantage of the leverage it gives you. Beyond that, we'll get to this towards the end of this piece of the presentation, but you also need to know, companies are expecting you to understand how to use AI. There's a lot of conversation, you'll hear us when you go into these AI forward conferences, people are worried about job loss due to AI and AI agents, and if you hear a lot of conversations about AI, there's good reason to be concerned about it, but what a lot of the AI companies are pushing is, and the reason for this is, you need to have a human in the loop. What the AI produces doesn't have taste, doesn't have context, and it doesn't have the human element of looking at the decision making. So what the phrase is, it's not that AI is going to replace you, it's that a human who knows how to use AI is going to replace you. And I think there's a lot of truth to that right now, and I think maybe things will continue to shift over time. But I think that's a larger and bigger problem. We're concerned about the job search now, and there are still a lot of jobs. Humans still need to be in the loop. So I wanted to talk specifically about this interview that I went through with one of these AI agencies that's building SDR bots. So they build service delivery robots, basically, that interface with you when you come into the website. They're there 24/7. They don't take coffee breaks. They don't need to go to the bathroom. They don't take vacation. They're always there. They can respond immediately. It's one of the best use cases that I've seen right now of actually using AI effectively to interview somebody who's coming in interested in buying something, getting the details, and then moving it to the human in the loop to say, hey, these are all the details, and go have that conversation. So that's the tool. They're feeding it to the change in the job search, which, by the way, is my last slide, and I'll get past it quickly because I'm talking about it now. But the change in the job function is now you've got all the information. Your follow-up is, I'm coming prepared. I'm coming with all of the knowledge ahead of time. I'm coming with you halfway sold through the SDR, and now it's time for me to come in, have the detailed conversation, have the human contact, and perform the close. So it's changing the style and what you're doing. It makes the SDR job, for people who have gone through this, they tend to like it a lot better because it's really taking advantage of the human aspect of that. But, so that's what those companies are doing. The interview process is really interesting, though. They're giving you all kinds of tests. Skills tests, personality tests, a desktop simulation where I was being asked to copy and paste files, move it to a mail, move it to a chat, move it to like one of the communication apps, like a WhatsApp or something like that. I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of that part was, although I believe they may have been testing whether or not I was an AI taking the test. Whether or not I was an AI taking the test. It was so simple. They were using it for one of two purposes. They were either using it to record what I was doing and train AI, or they were using it to validate whether or not I was an AI trying to take that test. I can't come to any other conclusion. I've actually reached out to the company to ask them. And then they had this video interview where I had up to 3 minutes to respond to each question. I was able to re-record my responses, and they were pre-recorded questions. I believe the person in the video was a live person. I don't believe it was an avatar that they used to ask the questions. But they had these 4 pre-recorded questions. I'd go in, I listen to the question. I could listen to the question multiple times. I could answer it. If I didn't like my answer, I could re-record my answer. Definitely on the last 3, I was able to re-record. The first one, I didn't see the button to re-record, but it may have just been that I was new to the interface and missed it altogether. So I'm sharing this because this is stuff that is going to start to come down the path more and more. You may have experienced it already, but it'll come into the enterprise and the mainstream interview process as we go. Knowing that this is going to happen and knowing that you may have these kind of things come, it's kind of a good idea to prepare for them. Take some skills tests to just get comfortable with them. Take a personality test. I put some URLs up there for places that you can go to just practice these. You get some results. It's the personality test, honestly, it doesn't matter. It's a personality test. If you've taken a DISC test before, you've been through it. But when you're kind of getting this as part of the interview process, it is a bit uncomfortable. It's a little bit new feeling. Like I talked about the desktop simulation. And I talked about the interview. As you go through this, and this was actually a suggestion from ChatGPT as I was working on putting together this presentation. Take a minute, take some time to do the box breathing or relax or meditate in between these things. Spend 5 minutes, get comfortable where you're at so that you're not, because as you go through this kind of process, it's like taking the SATs all over again. You want to try and settle yourself down and make sure that you're taking it with a calm mind. They're trying to get the best employee for the role. We're trying to find the best role for ourselves in this process. It may not be the right company for you if they're going through this process. Maybe it is. Regardless, understanding that this is probably going to happen more and more, and this is what's happening on the leading edge on companies that are out on the West Coast and building these AI things. They're starting to implement these strategies. It's good to understand that they're coming. So finally, beyond that, I talked a little bit about this slide at the beginning. I talked about the SDR process and what's happening there. How you prepare for your next phase and making sure that you're AI ready is important. But it's not just about being AI ready, because the skills of work are changing as well. It's going to be more about human relationship as we move forward. And so relationship mastery, critical thinking, we had that slide at the beginning. It's so important. When you start using AI agents to do work, you've got to look at the work that they're producing and have an idea as to whether that work is producing value or whether it's misinformed in some way. And if it's misinformed in some way, you have to think about, how is this question asked that's allowing this to be misinformed so that we can ask the question better, or redesign the workflow so that we're getting a better answer. Taste is a human thing. Computers, AI does not have taste, at least not as of yet. So that's where the human in the loop is critical and important. And then finally, final negotiations. Human negotiation to date is still going to drive a lot of purchases. There'll be other purchases. There is a book that Gardner produced and mentioned, I think it was last year, at what's the tech conference? The
Atlanta Tech Week?
No, the Georgia TAG. Yeah, TAG. The book they introduced was When Machines Become Customers. They talked about it, and I'm actually rereading that right now. There will be obviously machine buying of stuff, but it'll be more programmatic. It'll be based off of when parts are wearing out and things like that. Large purchases, the stuff that, and personal purchases are still going to be human to human. So understand that that's where a lot of the humanity comes in. And then finally, some of the action plans, make sure you look at your skills gap related to AI, understand what prompting is. You're coming to these classes, that's like a great first step, but there's more to learn, spend time learning it, and then invest in the relationship building and human skills, because that's going to become more critical as well as we go forward. Finally, I wasn't going to have time to get to this, so I just wanted to mention.
You do. You have 14 minutes.
Ooh. All right. Well.
5 more? Yeah. To keep it safe, 5 more minutes.
Okay. So I'll talk about this quickly. Claude, if you look on this screen, you can see down here, and it says beta, and this is subscription. Okay. You might be able to make out the images. That's the Google Drive image. This is the Google Mail image. That's the Google Calendar image. These are called connectors, and they have been programmed. So Claude came out with something called MCP, which is called Model Context Protocol. This is the methodology that they're using to hook into anything on the web, any program you have. So they can now hook into Salesforce, they can hook into HubSpot, they can hook into your Gmail. This basically allows this tool to become a personal assistant very easily. So if you go to my LinkedIn, this code goes to my LinkedIn. I posted something today because I didn't think I'd have enough time to talk about it here. that shows how I went back filing unemployment this week. I went back, asked it to go through my email and find all of the emails of the companies I applied to, get their address, get their phone number, get their URLs. Yeah, and give it back to me. Took about 5 minutes to do it. Then I decided, I was like, I usually keep that in a Google spreadsheet. I'm like, can you put that in a spreadsheet for me? It didn't put it into a spreadsheet. It built a preview, it built a view window. Actually, it did put it into the spreadsheet, but it built a web page with it in a spreadsheet that it presented to me. I could look at rejections I got. I could look at acceptances I got. All I said was put this into a Google spreadsheet. Prompting's getting kind of crazy. You don't necessarily have to prompt it quite as well as you used to. But it actually built an entire page, and like I said, it's worth going to my LinkedIn and check out to watch the video. You can see it in detail. But it'll filter it for you. It says you can download the CVS. That button wasn't working. I probably could have worked with it a little bit more to get it to work. So I think that's it for me.
Question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, about half the applications I've done so far ask for permission to use your resume in their AI. What does that mean?
Yeah, they're using, so I would, if they're asking for permission, I would, at this point, say no. At least that's the general feedback I've gotten from a lot of people who are doing it. They are actually using AI to do screening in that case, but they're asking for your permission to use the AI to do screening. If they are not using the AI to do the screening, if they're asking you for your permission, they're going to have a human look at it, as of right now. They may also, that's what I'm being told. They may also just be saying, well, we're only going to take ones that get screened by the AI, so you may be eliminating yourself altogether. I don't think that's the case right now. At least the HR people who I've talked to about it have said that they will look if you choose not to have the AI look at it. AI look at it.
I had one other comment about the personality test, because I took one and I asked, what do you actually use it for? And it's once you're hired, that company uses to put the right people on teams exclusively whenever they're building teams. So that was a plus.
That's interesting. A lot of them are looking for fit with the company culture, I think, is a lot of where that's coming from.
Is there a segment of this discussion here, this class, that addresses privacy concerns?
Other than the conversation I kind of had toward the beginning, not really.
At some point, there was a brief description of some legal matter going on with ChatGPT, I believe it was.
Yeah.
About everything you submit or chat with is going to be kept from now on.
For the time being.
For the time being. That's ChatGPT. Are the other tools, Claude and the others?
They are not bound by that decision at this time.
So on those other tools, you can ask for preservation of your information or non-disclosure of your information in exchange.
You have to look at the setting on the tool. So there are settings on the tools where you can ask them not to retain your information or train on your information.
Are you talking about if you upload your resume?
No, I'm just talking about
Okay.
about prompts you issue or information about yourself that you put in prompts, and you want to preserve some semblance of privacy in working with these tools.
Continue.
I'll always put in fake information for my name, and because I work for a company big in AI, but I've always just safely, if I'm uploading, playing around with prompts, I'm Bob Brown. Different email,
Or you could
something I'm trying to do to deter it.
You could also submit your resume without the top header part with your name, phone number, and email, and so that it has your experience and all your skills and everything, but not your details. So that would be a perfect opportunity for you to, at the end, we have our QR codes for LinkedIn. You can ask any of us. I would go to either Kevin or Carlos before you go to me, because that is a high-level question. We're going to do a demo on Google Career Dreamer, and I have a member from the audience. This is Mapi, Maria Pilar, the wife of Carlos. And anyway, so raise your hand if you've used Google Career Dreamer. Just a few. Okay. So when I re-entered the workforce after being a stay-at-home mom and get my undergraduate degree, it would have been great in 2014 to have this tool. But we're going to demo it, Mapi as a stay-at-home mom. So all you have to do is do a Google search for Career Dreamer and you'll get to it. This first screen here shows in 3 steps how to use Google Career Dreamer. So we're going to go through these steps. And simply click Start. And she's going to give me information that I'm going to enter in for each of these prompts. We're going to begin with stay-at-home mom, but she's also been a regional manager and consultant. So that we're going to come back to that. So we want to show you
First step, stay at
first
home
step.
now.
If I could type. Okay. And then
Reina, is this only if you're making a pivot, or what's the main context here?
it can help you find jobs for the position you're seeking. It can transferable skills. So any tasks that you've done or skills, it can transfer into a different role. So yes, it could help you pivot, or the end of it would be how you can find jobs or get a target company list, or potentially look for people who are in these new roles you want to transition into. So first it's going to put up a bunch of tasks that she did as a stay-at-home mom, and you can either click them one at a time, or if she's done all of them, you can click Select All. And all? And if you feel like there's more tasks that you've done, you could click Regenerate, and this is coming from Google. She's entering nothing. She's not creating any prompts. So it's added a couple more, and she's prepared nutritious and balanced meals for her family. She's managed and maintained a clean and organized household environment. Right, Carlos? Yes. So we're going to select.
Yes, sir.
We're going to select all, and then and then go next. And so now we're going to be looking at skills. And again, Google's generating the skills that are popular for a stay-at-home mom. So in this case, select all.
Yeah. Time management, organization, problem solving, conflict resolution.
We could generate more to get a few more, but there's also, so multitasking, moms do multitask.
A lot.
You can add more skills, which could be,
Communication, planning.
it could be
Communication
like
is already there.
nursing care is a good one, because we do nurse our children when they're sick. Yeah. So we're going to go next on that, because she's got 13 tasks and 10 skills, and it creates a career identity statement for her.
And this is important because this is the...
So this could be your elevator pitch. So you can regenerate to get another version of it. You can copy it and paste it into ChatGPT to refine it some more, or any generative AI. You can paste it into a Google Doc, but there's no reason to keep a record, because this stopwatch icon will give you the history. So this is important. We're going to come back to that when we add her experience as a regional manager and consultant. So the next screen is, you can either go Explore Paths with the blue button, or the center button is Explore Paths. And based on the inputs, no prompt engineering again, but based on the inputs which Google provided, it's going to give us a lot of different titles that she could potentially explore and apply to. A couple things I want to show you is the Learn More button gives you this main screen here, which gives you average salary and also what your typical degree requirement is. But on the left-hand side, you have 3 more additional screens that you can view. So it's a real confidence booster for a stay-at-home mom. Imagine yourself as a nursing home or home health administrator. This may not be a good example for her, but she had plenty of titles she could look at. So then it goes with the sweet spots based on your skills or the tasks that you did, and I think it first looks at your skills. The sweet spots, you can click on the different skills, and the text box pretty much is a confidence booster, and basically from your skills you did as a stay-at-home mom, you're capable and equipped to handle this type of job as a nursing home / home health care administrator. You can regenerate that again, and each one of those skills, if you click on it, you get additional text messages, or not text messages, but content within that box. The next screen is a day in the life, and what I like to tell job seekers is if you are pivoting into a new role, not only would you have target companies, you might have target roles where you might want to schedule an informational interview with someone in that role so that you can ask them, what certifications did you have to take, or how did you get your job at the company, or what tools do you use at your company. So this kind of gives you kind of a preview of what you could potentially ask someone who is in the role that you're trying to pivot to. So then the last screen is areas for growth. So because the prompts were specific, maybe she has had medical billing experience, but the other skills, it's going to tell you how you can fill in the gap. And then some roles will have a 5th screen, which will give you some upskilling recommendations. So I'm going to go back to Explore Paths. So that's an example where they have all of the different screen views, whether it's 4 or 5 more. But some of them, let's say, marketing manager will learn more. The smaller font ones will probably, let's do, I don't really like, we did look at this one before. Social Human Services Manager. That's not the one I want to look at. Well, before we go there, let's go ahead and add her other information as a regional manager and consultant and her degree. So I'm backing up to the first screen. Well, it wasn't the first screen, but it's before it produced a career identity statement. And we're going to add her education, master's degree. Yeah. It's not giving me the next here. I might have to back up here. Let's see. Let's do a refresh. Okay, master's degree. Subject area.
It's business administration and economics.
And I'm going to press next. And here again, based on this degree, there's skills that she could select. You could select one at a time or select all. You can add a skill here. You can regenerate to get more skills. Out of the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and just go next. And then we're adding experiences as a regional manager.
For a nonprofit organization.
And we're going to put nonprofit now for organization or industry.
Next.
And then let's see if I can add another experience in here. Oh, it didn't take that.
That was done.
Yeah, it didn't save it though.
Oh, okay. I
Manager.
see.
Not manger, not a regional manger. We'll just, I've seen it on LinkedIn. We're gonna keep it with this to add consultant. Well, for some reason, going back doesn't help. But, so again, the skill or tasks, select all or regenerate, add more, and then click next. And the career identity, this is the important part, is the career identity statement now takes the inputs together.
Both inputs. Both
Skill,
set of skills.
skills, tasks. Okay, we're gonna do select all here. So you have your tasks and then skills, and then it repopulates the career identity statement. And again, she has the opportunity to look at the history and copy it and paste it into ChatGPT or a Google Doc. She could also regenerate it again. And you can compare the minor differences in the career identity statement, which can also be your elevator pitch. So now we're going to go to explore paths. I think I've covered that, where there's a learn more, or this is the next step. So the ones that don't have learn more, it takes you to Gemini, which is the third step here anyway. Jump to Gemini. So let's say grant writer, if that would be something she's interested in. You'd copy the JSON file that they provide here. So you copy it to your clipboard. You click jump to Gemini, and then you paste it here and send. You can always view that JSON file just to see. It's taken all the inputs from Google Career Dreamer, and it also is giving it some instruction here on the bottom that when you play with it on your own time, you could see exactly what type of instructions, but you can also add additional instructions. So let me go ahead and, based on that, here's what the response is from that JSON prompt. It gives you questions, and all you have to do is type 1, 2, or 3, and it's going to answer that question for you. So what would my typical day-to-day responsibilities look like as a grant writer? So I'm going to put 1, and it's going to give you an answer for that question. So you don't have to type in the whole question, and it's going to give you more questions that you can ask. Give me the emphasis on research, how I can leverage my organizational skills from being a stay-at-home mom to excel in a grant writer's role. So I could put 1, and I probably don't even have to put the period, and it's going to give me the answer to that question. So we're at 5:21. How much more time do I have?
10 more minutes. We need to
Oh.
let them go for the biggest
Yeah.
single video. Yeah.
So that's an example of jump to Gemini. Now,
A simple one.
let me find the job search button. I'll just go here for now. So find jobs near you. This is a Google search. It's aggregating from different job boards, LinkedIn, company websites, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, etc., for the specific position. I recommend to job seekers, don't apply for these jobs. Start creating your target company list so that you can, if you add in the Boolean search, Alpharetta, Georgia, because that's where she wants to stay close to her children. So then it narrows that search to Alpharetta, and there may be companies there that you haven't even considered to add to your target company list. And the target company list you build a list of 40, you actively work 6. In Steve Dalton's book, The 2-Hour Job Search, his college students that worked his 2-hour job search never get past the 15th company. So they land a job, basically. By the time they do his instructions to find a job, they get to the 15th company on their list of 40 target companies. So again, this is an opportunity for you to create your target company, but you can also, let me find one that's on LinkedIn. This may not be the role she's looking for, but when you're in LinkedIn, who in your network is connected to that company? This is Carlos's LinkedIn profile, but you want to find people that either you're second connection to and get an introduction to someone at that target company, or if you see someone in the role that you want to pivot to, you're basically scheduling informational interviews to find out more information. You don't just stop the relationship there. You nurture that relationship. It's all about building relationships, and how can you help them also during your job search. A lot of people at companies, they do want to help you, especially if they've been through RUMC or C3G. They do want to help you, and they want to hear when you land a job. So I think I've covered everything.
Yeah.
We'll move on to our next part of the presentation. Thank you, Mappy.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're at Q&A now.
Yeah.
Guess I should come back up for this too.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we have a couple of announcements here.
Yeah.
Go to the presentation.
Okay. Oh, I don't need that. That's it.
Here.
Okay.
While they're working on that, we are opening it up for questions, so if there's anything.
Yeah, quick announcements. Here we have another QR code for survey on this presentation.
Yeah.
We would greatly appreciate if you can please scan it and give us your feedback. We're gonna-
If you complete the survey, the questions on the document for the prompts, we can have a Google Doc with all the links to the GPTs and the PowerPoint slides. So if you scan this QR code, fill it out, we'll have your email, we can send that back to you. It also gives us a record of who attended this workshop.
Okay, so we're gonna leave it there for another couple of.
So you guys can ask
Seconds.
questions while folks are taking a grab of the QR code. Any questions?
So have y'all thought about a way to?
It says I need to request access.
Yeah.
Does it?
Same thing.
It says you'll get an email letting you know if your request was approved.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's what
no.
I'm saying, yes.
Oh, no.
That's right.
It was asking for permission.
Yeah, the Google form, I didn't make it public. I'll
Okay.
put it over here, just hang on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, something quickly we want to announce as well. Reina and I lead the St. Thomas Aquinas Job Career Transition Ministry. And in tomorrow's meeting, we're going to have Wes Ria. He's another renowned career transition coach. He's been here a couple of times, I believe, and he has his practice. And he's going to be with us tomorrow from starting at 7 p.m., talking in general about the career transition process and talking about his book as well. So we invite you together. St. Thomas Aquinas is on Old Rocker Road, very close from here. And for July the 8th, we're going to have a similar conversation to this one, or a similar class, or a similar workshop like this one, also at St. Thomas Aquinas. Plus, if we do well on the survey, we might be coming back here. Okay, so finally, sorry, you wanted to say something on the previous slide? Okay, so here are LinkedIn QR connections. I think feel free to connect with us, ask questions. Reina will be fixing the.
Yeah, I've accepted all the
previous
requests.
one.
Let
Perfect.
me see what I did wrong on my Google form.
So
Let's go ahead with questions.
Yeah, finally, final thoughts, questions. We gave it several names to this section. As you can see, I started with a very simple, it looks simple at least, ChatGPT example, right? copy and paste prompts or develop your own prompts. But then I moved on to Notebook LM. It's a tool that is already doing a lot of this stuff for you. Then Kevin talked about the GPTs, and he described them perfectly. I mean, my example, I keep my prompts in a Word document, and I copy and paste them, right? The GPTs allow you to create that into one single tool, but you need to subscribe to ChatGPT in order to be able to do that, not to use them. So if we have very intelligent people like Kevin developing GPTs for all of us, we can use them for free, right? And we know that it's going to be a prompted experience. He prompted them, he did the prompts are great, and the results are going to shorten the time to prepare star stories, to prepare for an interview, Google style, and all these things, right? And then Reina finally explained a way more complex and sophisticated tool, which really in the end, what it does is it shortens the time to get there, right? Mappy was fascinated with the tool because she was like, okay, it would have taken me a lot of time to think, being a stay-at-home mom, how can I sell myself, for a new role? And it really shortened. I mean, when they did they prepared the demo a couple of hours before the presentation, and that's in the end what we're trying to get out of AI, right? We're going to shorten the time to get to where we're going to get. We want to shorten the time to sort of think about all these overwhelming initiatives. How can I contact companies? How can I go, target companies? You saw the example for the career dreamer.
¿Puedo decir algo?
Of course, in English.
No, lo que les quería decir es que...
En inglés,
No, I'm sorry. My first job was at IBM in Colombia, back in my country. And the first thing that I learned from my first boss was never to be afraid of technology. Never, ever. It's going to be here, it's going to be stay forever. We are the generation that went from not having anything that was related to technology to this AI. So we will get to use, we will get to learn how to use it in everyday life, in our jobs, to help our kids, because I'm learning now how to help my kids using that, because they are the generation that is growing with it, that thing. So it's better to be on the mood and to get along with it than to try to stay aside.
Gracias.
Okay?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Did you have a question?
I'll put it in my comments. It's probably better offline anyways. Just a thought, but I'll put it here.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to mention regarding Kevin's presentation is he is applying to companies that use AI, that are around AI. In less than a couple of months, the mainstream companies are going to be using exactly the same interview processes. So, as I told you at the beginning, this is unavoidable, right? And I mean, we go to many of these meetings, and we usually hear, oh, it's sad that you're here, sad that you're in career transition, sad that you just lost your job. I think it's a blessing. It's the best time to get upskilled in these new technologies. And the people who are working have two problems. One, they don't have time to get upskilled. Two, they're afraid of us who are getting upskilled, right? So feel very happy that we're going through this transition, because if we use it well, and if we learn to use these tools, we're going to be way, way better professionals for the job market. Sorry, Kevin, I interrupted.
I was just going to the next question.
But this is more of a comment from what you said about technology. This is the third time that I've seen your session, and it makes so much more sense each time I hear it. So don't let this be a one and done. Just continue to, have courage. You're going to learn it.
We're
That's
gonna
it.
have to continue because the technology's gonna change week to week.
Oh, absolutely.
Not hour to hour.
Yeah. That Claude stuff that I was talking about is
It's great.
absolutely game-changing if you're not afraid of the privacy concern.
Yeah.
And there are privacy concerns about it, but realistically, I said this in one of the first discussions. our information already is out there in a lot of places. Unless you've been very, very good at protecting it over time, it's too late to start.
Yeah. One cool thing about this example, I read an article saying that every week, the big companies are creating graveyards of startups, right? I love to learn this stuff, and I love to program, agentic, Gen AI tools and whatever. And one of the tools I was playing with was accessing my own email in order to filter it and clean it and answer it and whatever. It's done for us now. Yeah, you need to pay $20 or $14 per month, but it's done for us. And every week we're going to see these kind of developments. And for sure, in 6 months from now, it's going to be for free. It's going to be part of the standard offer. Who knows?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody on the way over. They were telling me they had just heard about Otter. If you know what Otter is basically a note-taking app. ChatGPT has integrated the functionality for, I think it's only at the top end. I haven't seen it in my tool yet. But you can do it anyway in ChatGPT just by using the microphone. I sat in a bunch of conversations yesterday that were it's Atlanta Tech Week, and I hit the microphone, and for 10 minutes at a time I could record what was going on and then ask for notes from it, basically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. The notebook LM, the one I showed,
Yeah.
the best use case I saw is a salesperson who would prepare for his customer next day with all the PDFs related to the product, the company, et cetera. He will create the audio review. You gotta do at least one audio review of one document. It's crazy. And then he will listen that in his commute time. So he would get closer to the knowledge base, much closer, in a matter of minutes. And then, of course, he needs to read the paper, he needs to read the documents and all this, but the things happening are, these are beautiful times. As
We're
my wife said,
learning
we went from not having smartphones, we're the generation that went from not having smartphones to be now challenged by this technology. Our kids are born with this, right? They don't know what it was, the dilated phones like that. So
I was in elementary school when I got my first iPod Touch.
Exactly. So you were going to say?
Along those lines, though, the critical thinking comes back in, and with kids who are using this, one of the concerns that I think is valid is making sure that when they start using the tool, which they will do, that if they're your kids, you're coaching them, and think about what the answer is. Think about the way you're asking the question. If they're in school, are they asking it to learn, or are they asking it to do the work for them? If they ask it to do the work for them, they're not getting the value out of it. If they're asking it to help guide in the learning process, then they can get the value out of it. Ask it to ask Socratic questions back if you're coaching kids or things like that, to make sure that they're getting the value of learning along with the tool. And Khan Academy and Khan, I highly recommend looking at Khan Academy and some of the stuff that they've built, because they've really built some great tools around learning.
Yeah. Okay, 5 minutes ago, Catherine was raising her left eyebrow. Now she's raising both, which means we gotta let you go. We gotta shoot you in the direction of the. But thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention.